You spend your entire 20s climbing. You hit your 30s, you get the title, the salary, and the LinkedIn congratulations. But instead of feeling satisfied, you look around and realize the finish line is completely hollow. Take Soundar, 34 years old, IT project manager. By every external metric, his friends and family considered him perfectly settled. But inside, he was collapsing under the weight of his own routine. His days were a blur of urgent emails, unyielding metrics, and performance reviews in brightly lit climate-controlled boxes. The friction here is brutal. You do exactly what society asks of you. You win the game, and your reward is waking up every morning feeling like you've slammed into a brick wall. The standard advice is to book a 2-week vacation or push for the next promotion to regain that spark. But those are simply band-aids on a broken bone. Stepping away from the noise of the city or your office does absolutely nothing if the loudest noise is running on a loop inside your own mind. For Soundar, the tipping point arrived on a random Monday. He was leading a major client presentation. The slides were perfect, the data was solid. Then, mid-sentence, his voice just stopped. Total cognitive blankness. He excused himself to the restroom, gripped the edge of the sink, and looked at a ghost in the mirror. His heart was hammering. He couldn't catch his breath. For the first time in his life, his body refused to take orders from his brain. Looking at this quadrant chart maps exactly how this happens. Notice the y-axis tracking external success, rising steadily, while the x-axis for internal stability completely crashes to zero. We call this intersection the breakdown. The input here is straightforward, fueling a decade-long career strictly on adrenaline, stress, and the need for constant external validation. The outcome is mathematically predictable, a biological shutdown that actively destroys the professional standing you sacrificed everything to build. You are making a daily trade. You are giving up your long-term sanity just to survive the next quarter. If you refuse to consciously pause your own momentum, your nervous system will eventually step in and force a catastrophic shutdown for you. Soundar realized this, so he typed out an email requesting 30 days of leave, packed a single bag, and walked away from his desk with zero itinerary. He landed in Tokyo, expecting immediate relief. Instead, standing over this highly organized, quietly efficient street, the contrast was jarring. The city was calm, but his internal chaos was still raging. He found himself in a small Zen garden. An elderly local noticed him tense, exhausted, and running. The man pointed at a small pond and noted that water doesn't try to be calm. It just is. That is the input required here. Sitting in complete physical stillness, without treating peace as a KPI you have to actively manage or achieve. The outcome is a harsh realization for any project manager. You cannot work your way into being calm. Regulation only happens the moment you drop the effort to control the environment. This decision tree shows options after burnout. Path A is what most people do. Medicalize symptoms, ignore the root cause, and loop right back to the start. Path B requires stepping into the great pause, which leads directly to dismantling your professional ego. True regulation of your nervous system demands that you completely surrender the illusion that you are in control. To strip away that corporate identity, Soundar needed an environment that refused to be controlled. He flew to Kathmandu, immersing himself in a dense, chaotic grid that was the exact opposite of his sterile office. He joined a trekking group into the Himalayas. The physical exhaustion of the ascent acted as a filter, slowly removing the notifications, the looming deadlines, and the background noise. When you stand in front of something this massive, your brain is forced to recalculate its own significance. Take away the daily distractions, and the outcome is immediate clarity. You realize that a missed quarterly target or an email typo is entirely microscopic. There is a truth here. When a river runs too fast, it forgets it is water. You spend your life acting like a frantic wave, terrified of crashing, when in reality, you are the entire ocean. Imagine carrying that exact perspective back home, walking into a high-stakes board presentation, fully present, while your heart rate simply refuses to spike. It is a direct trade. You forfeit the artificial importance of your job title, and in exchange, you gain absolute freedom from panic and judgment. When Soundar returned to the city, The traffic was identical. The emails were still piling up. The world hadn't quieted down at all, but his baseline response to it was entirely new. You do not need to resign from your career, leave your family, and buy a one-way ticket to Nepal to experience this reset. I am not a mystic or a guru. I am simply a professional who figured out how to stop running, and I built a pragmatic bridge for others who want to do the same. That bridge is our 8-month guided spiritual mentorship. It is an engineered, step-by-step framework designed to bring the absolute stillness of the mountain directly into your daily corporate routine. Achieving true inner stability is an executive optimization strategy. It is not an escape hatch from reality. Let's evaluate this matrix strictly through an investment lens. On the left side of this chart, you see the core components of the mentorship program, mapped directly against the heavy costs of inaction on the right. Time for an 8-month program. But failing to secure your foundation right now guarantees that your body will eventually force you to make time for a total collapse later. We back this work with a 100% guarantee. The only actual risk on the table today is choosing to maintain your current status quo. Click the link below to apply for the mentorship program. Spaces are strictly limited and enrollment closes soon. The ultimate cost of inaction is spending your entire life behaving like a frantic wave, exhausting yourself, and never realizing you had the depth and power of the ocean all along.